My team was sent off in early 2009 to Firebase Anaconda in the Uruzgan province of Afghanistan. It's essentially a hornet's nest of the Taliban. Started to move toward the trucks, and then snap! A round went right between me and my teammate Gus. You could hear it. You could feel it. And then they were coming in from everywhere. I looked Bob directly in the eye, and I could see his mouth moving, and he said, "Mark got shot." We loved him. He was the heart and soul of our team, and in an instant, he was gone. And 8 days later, our team set out on another mission, and whoo! A massive explosion goes off right behind me. And in another instant, 3 more of my teammates were gone. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I was in charge. I was responsible for the calamity that had befallen my team. And one day in early April, one of my best friends through training and a fellow team leader, Casey Finnegan, he gave me a call and he said, "Hey, I told the task force commander that we need you guys to run a big operation with us." In this moment, Casey was doing me a favor that I will never be able to repay. He gave our team an opportunity to really get back on the horse, as terrifying as that sounded. And on the morning of the operation, at about 1 a.m., we got on the birds, we made the long flight up to the northern Helmand, we landed in a poppy field, we hit our 2 targets, and we rang the jackpot on both. We were ready to fly back and high-five and crack a beer. You could almost taste it. We were proud of ourselves. And the higher headquarters had a different idea in mind for us. They said, "There's a lot going on in this village. People have effectively cleared out over the last few hours. Why don't you stay and clear the whole village? Round up everything you can while you're there. Before we were done, the sun would be up again." And a funny little thing that you might not know about Special Operations Aviation is that they don't fly during the day. So what we also knew was the implication that, hey, you're gonna have to stay through the whole next day until the next period of darkness. Which was cool because we only had 1 liter of water per man and no food. And the Taliban had just scurried to the outskirts of the village at night and would surely be waiting for us when the sun came up. And that's exactly what happened. By about 6 in the morning, the first RPG came flying in across the poppy field and hit the wall of the building that I was sitting on top of. And for the next 10 hours, we fought in place in the village of Kajaki, repelling a couple of hundred Taliban fighters that were relentlessly trying to overrun us on all sides. And eventually, by about 4 p.m., we were able to secure the site enough to convince some helicopters to come in and get us the hell out of there. And we ran from the objective and we loaded up on the birds. All 4 helicopters worth of Green Berets without a scratch on a single one of them. And we got there and the ramps dropped on the birds and we started to walk off, and there was the commander and the command sergeant major and a bunch of soldiers from the headquarters that were there clapping it up for us, to greet us with a high five and a hug to let us know how proud they were of what had happened over the previous 16 hours. As we kind of cleared the airfield out and started going back to our huts, it was clear to me that something in my team had shifted. And while I was not sure how we would do if we were faced with that kind of scene again, in that moment I knew that this was a different team, that this was a new team. It wasn't the team that we showed up with in January, and sadly that was an impossibility. But it also wasn't the team that flew back from Anaconda, battered and beaten and shaken. It was a new team. We had become the team that we needed to be for one another and for our mission. Achieving the things that we really want to do in life and making it to the summit doesn't require us to go undefeated. And in fact, I would say it requires that we don't. But eventually all of us are gonna bump up against one of those existential moments in our life that just rocks us to our core and leaves us disoriented. Because doing important things in this life has always and will always come with its fair share of bumps and bruises, major setbacks, even tragedy. We share these extreme circumstances with you because we want you to know, we want you to really know that regardless of what happens to you, You will always have the opportunity to persevere. Always. It is your choice.